Ladies and gentlemen, check it out. First of all, I got a haircut. Finally. Secondly, it's the end of November, and we have all of our new hero releases for the month. So that means tier list time. Okay, if you guys have never been here for one of my tier lists, it's going to take a while. So grab a drink, grab a snack, strap in, and let's get at her. Okay. So as I do, we're going to run through all the heroes that are on my tier list. In general, we're going to touch on all of them. There has been some heroes that have been moved around, and we're going to discuss why. So let's just pop it up on the screen right now. Here it is. This list, this graphic is always up and available in the spreadsheet that is linked in the description below. So if you want access to it, go give it a click. And it looks like... Oh, that's okay. My game just froze behind it, but that's just fine. Okay, so I'm going to remove my head so that the people that want to screenshot it can screenshot it. Although sometimes we do change this on the fly as we're discussing it. But there it is. 3, 2, 1. It's gone. Okay. All right. So one thing to note at first before we begin is that I have... There you go. There are people that are considered trash or food. So in today's modern Eternal Evolution, there are just some heroes you are not going to use. You're just not. You're not. So these ones up top here, this trash food, you can just crunch them into your other elites at the beginning of the game and not worry about it at all. Oak, argument can be made for Oak, but I do believe you get... By the time you got tanks, you should have access to Zeta, Vegnus, Oisa, Boar. You should have access to enough. So Oak might be the only one debatable on here, but at least everybody else on here on the trash food section is trash and food. And now these ones used only at the beginning game. So yes, I can say when I did my free-to-play count, I did use Randall. I think I might have used Queet on a tank team. I might have used Paluno in the Atlas faction mine. Loran, you're definitely going to use the beginning game. Nagrama Omar, maybe in Sincero Marsh, but really now you're not going to get access to Nagrama very easily. Old John, you're never going to use him. Like, it's just, no. It's sad, but you're never going to use him. And Xander, too, he's a hunter. You're probably not going to use him because there's just way better hunters. So, and then these ones will be replaced before you even use Azina. There's no sense ever spending any endless currency for the endless shop to get her. So, no. Nautilus, no. Anaruda, by the time he gets up to Immortal, no. Guan Yu, you're probably, again, just like Azina, you're never going to spend the endless currency to buy a copy because they're useless. And then Bada, no, they've nerfed her twice, or they've buffed her twice, and she's still useless. So keep in mind that these are on the side. If you're wondering why some heroes are not on this graphic, that is why. It's because they're over to the right side in separate categories. Because there's only so much room on this, and really these are the heroes that might still get some use. So let's start in proper now, shall we? Let's start at the top with the tanks. Now, last month, this we kind of set it up like this, and nothing's really changed. So you still have to, if you want a tank team, you have to have Pandemonium. If you don't, it's not a tank team. As such, Pandemonium gets the #1 spot still. Without him, you do not have a tank team because his ultimate basically turns every other tank that's on the field into another knockdown machine. That knockdown machine is going to feed through the Obek commander. That's the only way you're going to do damage. That's the only way you're going to do CC. That's the only way you're going to kill things. So Pandemonium holds on to his #1 spot in the tank class. Teresh and Wamagon, the same... Okay, cool. The same argument applies to why they're on these positions as last month. Teresh and Wamagon are both... They can be plug and play into other teams, although nowadays it seems like the tanks stay with the tanks. It seems like all the other classes just kind of stay together now, the way the teams are going. Teresh and Wamagon are the next 2A and 2B of the tank class. Both of them excellent heroes, both of them good in their own right, both do different things. They're both excellent. I wouldn't call Wamagon 3, I would call it 2A, 2B. The only reason why Teresh is a little bit ahead is because he has a little bit more viability outside of the tank team than Wamagon. I compare Teresh with Assassins on my free-to-play account, which is a lot weaker, a lot less strong, and I can clear content that I wouldn't be able to do with just Assassins by themselves on my free-to-play, obviously. So that's why Teresh gets a little bit of a higher rating, 2A instead of 2B. Tachikoma, basically a better Zeta. Tachikoma does make the tank team better with its her shields that she gives to all the tanks at the beginning of battle. And, you know, once you get her up to X30 hyper evolved, like, it's a tough investment to be just a better Zeta. But she does make the team better, but she is nowhere near the Pandemonium, Teresh, and the Wamagon. As such, she just gets the number 4 spot. Zeta, still a good tank if you're going to get her, although, you know, we're never going to see another banner for Zeta, so really the only way you're going to get Zeta is if you use your hero selector from the hero rallies to purchase her copies, or if you purchase her through the Endless Battle store, because she's usually in there. Sometimes they rotate her out for other units, but you could go for Zeta out of there and use her in a tank team if you don't have access to Tachikoma. She had that 4th spot on the tank team prior to Tachi coming in, and we don't know how we're going to get Tachi back. We don't know how we're going to get any of the Time Travelers back after they've been came in their collab event. Now, when we get into the elites, I'm going to touch on these very, very briefly. Personally, I use Oysa more, or I used Oysa more on my free-to-play account in the beginning game. As such, she's going to get a spot ahead of Boar. Boar is a good tank with some niche PvP uses, even though now in today's world, he is not going to be on any end-game PvP teams. Vegnus is the best elite tank. So you can slot Vegnus into your teams before you get your Teresh and Wamagon, Tachi, Zeta up and rolling. So say you have Pandemonium for your tank team. If you have Vegnus, Oysa, and Board, you can make that team work very early game and then start swapping out the pieces until you get these higher end tanks, these SSS tanks. Okay, so support. Support has changed a little bit. I've made one change to the support. Purin is still the queen of support. She is the queen and king. She's that good. Keep in mind, you want to take her to X30 because you really want to get her X30 for the energy regen that comes from her kit. She's good at X20, but she is golden. She's a golden god with that bowl haircut at X30. And she replaces both Fiona and Miranda on teams where she has no business replacing with. This current endless battle cycle that we're in right now at the end of November, you can basically just run the 4-point heroes, 4-point bonus heroes, and Purin in every comp and get higher scores. So Fiona, Purin number 1, hands down, unequivocally for the supports. The reason why I give Fiona, put her ahead of Miranda, 1, because the Assassins are a better team than the Energy team. Fiona buffs the Vanguards and Assassins, and both of them right now are hot stuff, whereas Miranda buffs the Energy and the Hunter teams. They're both good, but I think Fiona has a little bit more use right now. So as such, she gets the number 2 spot. Fiona gets the number 3 spot. Now here's where the change comes in. Last month I had Mazrani ahead of Rez. And I flipped him this time because, in all honesty, I'm using Rez now more at endgame than I am Mazrani. So once you get Purin, Fiona, and Miranda up and rolling, you kind of have supports for 3 of your teams, and then summoners don't need a support. And you can slot Rez in still many places, many PvE contents in order to get better results than just slapping in a healer. It's weird that now the classes are kind of moving to a point now where healers don't really, or supports don't really need to heal. We're really benefiting more from support type mechanics. And as such, I had to put Rez ahead of Mazrani just because that's where he deserves to be. Mazrani's still a very good healer early game because you're still going to get him in week 4. Great healer early game, but that's all he does is heal. He does buff up attack. I shouldn't say all he does is heal, but he is not as good, not as clutch as Purin, Fiona, and Miranda. And you're going to use Rez more than Mazrani. You just are. Serena still gets a spot on here because she's still a really good healer for early games specifically. You're going to replace her early. So you're going to run her and Masrani and Loran, who you saw that he gets replaced really early. That's why he's not on this list anymore. I could put Loran in here again, but, you know, really, for how long you use Loran, he doesn't need to be on this list. So Masrani and then Serena bringing up the packs, but only take her to X20. Even Masrani nowadays, I would say only X20. Rez, X20. The top 3 you can take up to X30. Up top here, I would say Pandemonium, Tresh, Wamagon, maybe Tachi, X30. The rest, fine, just X20. All right, let's get into the energy class. You know what? I posted a different game video on my my channel tonight, and now you see the people subscribing. It's kind of funny. I still have my OBS set up to record or to announce subscriptions. That's kind of weird. Energy. Okay, energy is a little bit different this month. I did say in last month's tier list that I could possibly put Nord back in the number 1 spot, and I did just that because, you know, I still use him a lot. I used him a lot in the Endless Battle. You can mix and match him on any teams. I used Nord in one of the teams with it was like with Leo, Nord, Purin, Fiona, and Cariolis to clear like 8 stages of story campaign. He's still a really good unit, and I think you know you can have an energy team without Cariolis and Jaina, but in all honesty, you can't have an energy team without Nord. He's kind of like the Pandemonium, and you know, if you take him to X30, he is going to proc his lightning bolts when your backline energy AoEs or energy heroes use their AoEs, buffing up the whole team, buffing up the whole team's damage. As such, given the fact that yes, Carrie's really good, I love Carrie, and Jane is really good. In all honesty, you don't have an energy team without Nord, so I'm still going to give him the number 1 spot. Can an argument be made for the other 2? Yes, but make it in the comments. Cariolis, I put him in ahead of Jaina because it's Cariolis and Cariolis alone that turns the energy team into a tank counter, and tanks are one of the beefiest PvP meta teams still. They can still kill a lot. If you do not have a Cariolis on your energy team, they will get stomped by tanks. Plus, Cariolis has so much true damage in his kit. He's kind of like the Rebecca of the energy team, except he's better because he's got a lot of AoE. And with the prototypes for the energy team, he can just keep doing his AoE over and over, or his ultimate over and over and over again. He does so much damage, but he does true damage without Miranda by himself, which is why I have him in the number 2 and not Jaina in the number 2. Jaina, again, damage monster, but she's not putting out the true damage like Cariolis is. And that true damage also is what nukes the tanks down and kills them dead. You can't beat tanks with energy without Cariolis. So Nord number 1, Carrie number 2, Jaina number 3, and then we get into the old school triple S energy heroes, Ravenna and Luke. And the reason why I put Luke behind Ravenna is because Luke is just a weak copy of Cariolis. Yes, he does have the AoE true damage or defense down on his AoE, but you know, honestly, Ravenna, even though she's got that limited range, she can kind of pump out a little bit more damage. If we remember last month's Endless Battle energy battle, we were using Ravenna and not Luke, although some people were using Ravenna and Luke. But I give now, given the way that the energy class has shooken out, I'm giving Ravenna the edge over Luke. Because Luke he just doesn't bring the numbers. He just doesn't have the numbers. Whereas Ravenna, yeah, she's got some her limitations, but she can put out some good damage numbers at X30. Even though nowadays I would not recommend you X30 either of these. No, don't. Save your red runes for the top 3. And then we get into the elites. Now, the only elites that I'm putting on this list is Sorietta, because you're going to use Sorietta a lot early game and beginning game. You're going to replace her quickly. But actually, I think it's he. Actually, you're going to replace him early, but you are going to use him quite a bit when you start the game. As such, I'm still giving him a spot on this list. And then Kane and Falvia, these 2 energy heroes are decent, are probably the best energy elites. and they are kind of the 1-2 combo that will get replaced by Ravenna and Luke, who will in turn get replaced by Cariolis and Jaina. That's kind of the progression through the energy team. You can use Falvia and Kane right up until Sincero X3. I used them on my free-to-play account in Sincero and was downing X3. So you can use them at mid-game and late mid-game. It's just you're going to replace them with the associated with either Cariolis and Jaina or Ravenna and Luke as you get them. So this is the energy tier list. Northeon still gets the number 1 spot. So Hunters, we've had a little bit of movement in the Hunters, and I'll explain why. So Artemis, not going to discuss it. It's an SP Hunter. SPs are always going to be the number 1 in their class. Very, very hard to get. Very, very expensive, but they are monsters, and as such, they demand respect, and they get the number 1 spot. Now, the next 3 Hunters are, in my opinion, the best 3 triple S Hunters that are in the game right now. If you have Rebecca, Ryzeris, and Arcadia, that's going to make up the core of any Hunter team. That is going to make up the core of any Hunter PvE content. Rebecca, she's the damage monster. She also brings a bunch of shields to your team for survivability. Ryzeris, she's the engine. She's the one that supplies them with all the attack speed, and she's an AoE hunter. You need her for Disa Caves. But then Arcadia, she's just a damage machine, right? She's really good at bringing down shields because each attack counts as 9 basic attacks in itself. So she's really, really good in PvE content. And it's these 3 Hunters that are going to get bonus points in Hunter-specific content like Endless Battles. For at least for the time being, maybe next month, maybe they'll replace one of them further down the road. But for the time being, they're the ones that are going to get you the biggest points in PvE content. As such, I'm giving Rebecca the number 2 spot, Ryzeris the number 3 spot, and Arcadia the number 4 spot on the Hunter class. Emma still has a place. You can still use Emma in content. I still use Emma in content. You can throw her in Disa Caves. You can throw her in Molten Abyss. She'll do well. She just doesn't have the damage output that the other top 4 Hunters have. As such, she gets the number 5 spot. Now, last month, here's the change. Last month, I had Taylor behind Moriami and Prygor. Behind them. The reason why is because, like Ravenna and Luke, Moriami and Prygor have been replaced by Ryzeris and Arcadia. They're just better. They're AoE hunters. Of the 2, Moriami's the better one. She can put out higher damage numbers. Prygor you can get fairly easily through Twilight Lands. Prygor you can now get free to play through the Endless Battle store. Gonna take a while to get Moriami though. But the reason why I put Taylor ahead of these 2 Hunters is because we've seen, even with this current November Endless Battle, that Taylor can be used to give you better results in niche PvE content. Whereas I don't have any reason whatsoever now to run Moriami and Prygor, where I do have a use case for Taylor. As such, it would make no sense to put Moriami and Prygor ahead of him strictly for them being triple S heroes. So Taylor, you're going to use him your first 4 weeks of this game in so much content. You're going to be one of your biggest damage dealers. As such, I couldn't have him behind them. And then Bot Mark II does have a place on this list still, for the same reason as Sorietti. You're going to use him a lot early game, beginning game, but he's very quickly going to fall off. He can be used in Disa Caves right up until some of the X levels, so he does still have some mid-game, late mid-game use, but he is definitely going to bring up the rear of the Hunter class. All right, let's move my noggin up to the top corner, and let's discuss the Vanguards. Okay, now, as of right now, this is how I'm putting the Vanguards. It may change, because Claire is brand new. Brand new. She's not even out of her first week of release, but she is already doing really good things. Now, I'm going to put Ares as number 1 for now. Why? Because him and Claire both have good survivability, and you want both of them kind of at IMO 5, even though Claire can do really good things at IMO 0 against an IMO 5 Ares, but Ares causes so much disruption with his ping-ponging all over the map, and he does do really good damage, and he's just sustained forever. He's an unkillable beast. I think Claire is also that kind of an unkillable beast, but she's kind of stationary. She doesn't move around as much. She can't, Ares can win me a battle or cause me to lose a battle if I'm going up against the Ares just on RNG alone, based on his movement across the map. So I kind of got to give Ares the edge for now. Claire might overtake him, but for this month, for the end of November, early December, Ares gets the number 1 spot, Claire gets the number 2 spot. I have videos highlighting Claire's PvE importance. The Vanguard class in general has limited niche use in this game, but they do one thing really well, and that's PvP if you get them developed. So Ares number 1, Claire number 2, Barag number 3. He is kind of like a weaker version of the top 2. He does have really good survivability. He does actually do really good damage. He does have a place in the PvP team. He is needed still in the PvE content that needs bonus point Vanguards. He is still a good hero. It's just the top 2 are better. So Ares number 1, Claire number 2, Barag number 3, and then we get into the Batu and Leo argument. So Leo still has uses. Batu still has uses. Batu, I struggle putting him ahead of Leo, because when I use 4 Vanguards on my team, I don't use Batu, I use Leo, because why I'm using Leo is because he's a disruptor. He's going to move through the map, back corners, whatever. When he dies, he's going to get a free ultimate. He's going to slide across the map again. He's just going to disrupt. Whereas Batu, he's also a disruptor, but he does it in stuns. He shoots, does an AoE stun, shoots towards the largest conglomeration of enemies, stuns them all. He is like invisible, but he has a revive as well. So I am going to give Batu the edge, given also that he's a rage-based Vanguard, and they have a little bit more usability, say in like Thundercliffs, than energy Vanguards. So for now, and this can be debated, I'm going to give Batu number 4, and I'm going to give Leo number 5 on the Vanguard class tier. And then we get into the last 3. Sadly, Crete is probably no longer ever going to be used. Why? Because you no longer get him in week 3. Now the only way you're going to get Crete is the same way you're going to get Moriami, and the same way you're going to get Zeta. The only way you're going to get him is through the Endless Battle Store, or from using the SSS selector from your hero rallies. That's it. And really, there's no reason to build him. As such, you're probably never going to want to pull him. Crete is almost doesn't deserve a spot on this list. I could put him in the I could put him in this comp, the will be replaced before using. But the thing is you're never going to have an opportunity to get him because you don't want to spend your resources on him. Artis and Na Feng. Na Feng, we were actually using this endless battle. He does have a use because he can buff up the defense and attack, I do believe, of the highest 2 attack heroes. Plus, he gives damage reduction, which also, if Ares is getting that damage reduction, Ares can turn it into attack. So really, Na Feng can be used as a kind of like a buffer of your top 2 Vanguards, which is Ares and Claire, and they're already really strong, and being buffed more makes them even stronger. So I am going to give Na Feng the position ahead of Artis and ahead of Crete. Artis, reason why Artis is on here mainly is because you're going to use him a lot again at early game, just like Bot Mark II, Sorietta, Taylor, Oisa, Boar, Serena. You're gonna use Artis early game and beginning game because that's who the game is gonna feed you, and that's who you're gonna have frontline. So that's the Vanguards. Now we go into the Assassins. Okay, this one again, there's been a little tweak and an addition. So Coraxia, for the same reason as Artemis, since she's an SP, she's getting the number 1 pole spot, hands down. You can't take it away from her. She's a beast. She's a monster. She makes the Assassin team almost unbeatable. Well, before Artemis, and Ares and Claire can beat them, but she makes them very, 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 very good. After that, Dominic is still uncontested as the number 2 second best assassin. He is unkillable for a while until everyone else dies. He can just do huge damage numbers with his ultimate. Dominic is just fantastic. Everyone should be building him still, regardless to this day. He's number 2, hands down. Then we get into 3, 4, and 5. And this was a little bit trickier. I'm giving Samael the 3rd spot because he can be plug and played outside of the assassin team with great effect. He can be used in... I used him to finish story mode, story campaign 79 and 80 as the frontline unit because of what he can do. He's a very, very good frontline unit, even outside of an assassin team. And he also makes assassins better. When he came along, he eventually was the reason why Motoko is going to get pushed out of the assassin team if you have Korra. If you have Korra, you're going to run Caraxia, Dominic, Samael, Halentis, and Fiona as the PvP team. It's just, that's the best PvP assassin team. Motoko, when she came into the game, she basically re-countered the summoners because the summoners were at a point with Sif that they could counter assassins with Korra quite easily. But then putting Motoko on there, given that she's an AoE assassin, she was able to break that counter again and make assassins beat summoners if they have Caraxia and Motoko. So Caraxia number 1, Dominic number 2, Samael number 3. And then the reason why Rickert gets an edge above Motoko is because you still want Rickert on your guild hunt team for Whale Boss. You want Dominic, Samael, Rickert, and then whoever the other 2 are. I'm not a whale hitter, I don't know, but I've just seen the numbers. Those are the ones you want. Rakana, actually, too. And Purin, I think Purin, I think those, it's weird to use Rakana, but yes, you do. So the reason why Rickert is above Motoko is he's a single target assassin. She's an AoE assassin, but she only has niche PvE uses in the game, whereas Rickert has a little bit more uses. If you don't have Korra, he's going to be probably on your assassin team everywhere, but you're also going to want to use Rickert in Guild Hunt, whereas you won't use Motoko in Guild Hunt. So Rickert number 4, Motoko number 5. Halentis. Halentis has a hard spot on the PvP team, in Hell Arena and outside the Hell Arena. That's why she is... I can only put her... That's really her only use, is the 2 arena modes. Well, non-PvP arena, which is everything else, Summit Arena, all the good stuff. And then Hell Arena, she has to be on your assassin team. So that's why she's ranked, but I can't rank her in good faith above the top 5. And then Bailey and Rakana. Okay, I actually struggled. I actually wanted to put Rakana ahead of Bailey because Bailey is now like Crete. The only way you can get Bailey is if you save up, was it 500 tickets? Or maybe more than that, more than 500, 700 advanced tickets to do a hero rally. And he's just not good. He's just not good anymore. He's not good. Rakana has a spot on the Guild Hunt Whale team ahead of Bailey Hudson. So, but given that he's not I can't call him horrible because he is better than any elite assassin. So if you can get a copy of him and you can't get any copies of these, he's still okay. He still does what he used to do. It's just that, and you're still going to use him in the Guild Hunt Whale Boss if you don't have Samael, right? It's still Dominic, Rickert, Bailey, and Rakana. So technically both of these can still be used. It's just funny is that when you have the other ones, you actually don't use Bailey in Guild Hunt and you do use Rakana. So, these could be either flipped for the last spot, but we'll leave it at that. All right, last class. How long? Oh man, I'm whipping through these tonight. Look at that. Look at that. Only half an hour in. Okay, Summoners. Summoners haven't changed at all since last month. Sif and Ampu get the number 1 spot. The reason why is because they're the biggest damage dealers now on the Summoner team. Sif... the only reason why Ampu is doing the damage he's doing is because of the combined might of the Summoner team and Sif, given the fact that she buffs attack to summons or summoners, or both. I can't really recall. I don't remember the kits. It's been a while. Sif can do the most damage at X30 of any of the summoners. Plus, she's got Gobo, who's a big old wall up front. You know, you put her in Crimson Abyss, Gobo's going to count as 3. Gobo's going to take the heat. Gobo's going to do a lot of damage. Sif, #1 summoner in the game. She is the one that made summoners be able to beat assassins before Motoko and before Samael. They can't do it now, but they can still excel where they are wanted in summoner content. Ampu, again, huge. You know, he's a very, very early new release or post-launch new release SSS hero. Still a fantastic summoner. You know, huge AoE. Anybody he hits, he stuns. Huge damage numbers. Just really, really good. Ampu makes the summoner team go. You can't replace him because he's the one that gives all your summons, when they die, the corpse explosion. So those two can't replace on the team. In fact, right now, you can't replace any of these top 5 on the team. Doralee. Doralee is your summoner tank. The summoners prior to Doralee was using like Boar or Leo or Oisa as frontline tanks. Doralee, besides being your frontline tank, and you know, Doragon is almost perpetually on the field, unkillable tank when you X30 Dora. But people forget that Dora actually buffs the damage of your summoners and summons by 40%. So without her, even though she's not doing the damage, she's facilitating your other summoners for doing a lot of damage in their own right. As such, you can't not have Sif, Ampu, Doralee on your summoner team. Now, these next two, arguably, you don't need anymore. Daniel, back in the day, did so much. And Daniel, you're going to use at early game and beginning game just a ton because he's the week 2 character. Daniel's still really good, but he's not going to do anywhere near the damage output that the top 2 are going to do. You can use him early game for control because he does have a lot of CC capability, and you can direct where you want that CC with the bear. So he does have a lot of good control uses. He does buff up summons damage by 15%, which is, you know, pales to what Sif and Doralee bring to the table. But he still has a spot on the summoner team, but he gets only the #4 spot in the summoner tier. Sorvali, I still like Sorvali, but Sorvali's on the chopping block. But the Sorvali does one thing that all the other ones do not do, is that she is the healer. She is the healer. She's got a lot of summons, so she is going to increase Ampu's damage. She's going to facilitate his damage. She's also going to act as your healer along with your Ruler's Ring prototype to keep your team healed. Without Sorvali, your team would need a support. So the fact that she's a summoner, attacker, and a support means that she has to be on this summoner team. As such, she gets the #5 spot, and I think these top 5 are the summoner team. Without them, it's a weaker team. So this is the team, and this is how I'm going to rank them. This is how I had them ranked last month as well. These last 4, I can almost put Skur and Hattie into the Crete division. I can almost put him with Zeta, or her with Zeta. Because why would you want to go for Skur and Hattie now? They do have the ability to buff up any team you put them on, but they're a summoner, but they're not, because if Hattie dies, Skur dies. They're basically one unit doing the same thing. They still have uses. You know what? They don't. No, they don't. I lied. They don't have any use. I can't think of any piece of content in the game now where you would want to use Skur and Hattie. I don't know why I have them ranked ahead of Kalaza and Senway and Muka, but I do, and that might change next month. Kalaza and Senway and Muka, they are going to be your summoner team when you start the game. You get Daniel in week 2. You get Ampu in week 3 now. So with Kalaza, Senway, Muka, Daniel, and Ampu, there's your summoner team. Early game. The only reason why Kalaza, Senway, and Muka are on here is because of early beginning game. Muka is your frontline tank. As soon as you get Doralee, Muka is gone. You're never going to use him again. Senway and Kalaza are your summoner damage dealers. As soon as you get Sif, Sorvali, you're going to start picking them off your team. But early game, you're going to want them on your team because those are the summoners that you're going to have to roll with. As such, they make up the tail end of the summoner class. So, ladies and gentlemen, didn't make any alterations on the fly, so those of you that took the screenshots at the beginning of this video, your screenshot is still valid. Once again, this graphic is linked in the description on my master EE spreadsheet. I hope you enjoyed this month. This is the tier list for end of November, early December. Next month, we're going to have a lot of changes. We got 5 collab heroes coming to the game next month. We got to cram them all in here somewhere. We'll see how they fit. But as of now, this is your tier list. If you think that I was wrong in any place on this tier list, please say so in the comments. I would love to hear it, because I vacillate on a lot of this stuff, and I just go with my gut and place them. And I did switch them up to and including a week ago. I was still making adjustments. Like Moriami and Prygor got pushed back just this last week, with Taylor going ahead due to endless battles. So let me know if you think I was wrong in any place. I'd love to hear from it. Word of the day. What is it? Let's make it Thanksgiving. Let's say Thanksgiving's word of the day. I kind of missed. I know me as a Canadian, Thanksgiving is early October, October 9th, I do believe. So, but it was Thanksgiving for you, everyone else in North America that is not a Canadian, I guess, or Mexican. I don't know. Mexicans celebrate Thanksgiving, but yeah, Thanksgiving is going to be the word of the day. Safe word of the day. Put that down in the comments below. Tell me where you think I was wrong in the tier list, and I hope you enjoyed it, guys. Till next time, have a good one. Cheers, peace, bye bye.